Okay, so switching gears is something we probably know less about. Anybody in here ever been through a hurricane?
No.
I sat through a tropical storm. in
That
Georgia.
counts. So tropical storms like right before it's classified as a hurricane.
Yeah, that was some bad stuff.
That's pretty
That was in the
cool.
middle
What
of
year
the
was
flight.
that?
2013.
Yeah,
Middle of a wide open
recent.
field, and it was terrible.
So the thing about hurricanes and tropical storms is that they can actually have tornadoes embedded in them too. So. But hurricanes, they're larger. We can stalk them. We can classify them. Tornadoes, not so much, right? So yeah, here are, speaking of tropical storms, here are a pair of tropical storms that this says, I think they were never, I don't know if they ever did become hurricanes, but you guys know we name these things, right? So we have,
Once they
it's
use it,
alphabetical.
they retire the name.
Well, if
They're
it's
not
really
running out of
Nancy,
names, right?
we'll talk about this, but if it's a really bad one, they retire it, okay? So, yeah, it's alphabetical, Boris and Christina, and now it alternates guy, girl, guy, girl. It used to be all girls, right? So here's a
They're
pair.
running out of names.
What's that?
They were probably running out of names.
So actually there's 6 sets of names, and we'll kind of talk about that too. So the naming thing I think is kind of exciting. So we call them hurricanes, but the generic name for a hurricane is really a tropical cyclone. So you see here, for it to be a mature tropical cyclone, it has a minimum wind speed it needs to have. So we call them hurricanes. If you're in the Western Pacific, you would call tropical cyclones typhoons. If you're near Australia in the Indian Ocean, you would call tropical cyclones cyclones. Okay? So there are, and speaking of the names, each of these, okay, so I'll put a Roman numeral 1 here, actually 1 and 2, but and Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 3, each one has to have their own set of names. Okay? So hurricanes have a set of names. Actually, there's a set of names for the Atlantic, and there's a set of names for the Pacific. They have different. So, actually, tropical storms, or kind of before it becomes a hurricane, they basically start off on the west coast of continents. So, kind of here-ish, moves over here. Our hurricanes actually kind of start off of here and move over here. Okay, so just to kind of show you where the names enter in, we have 2 places for hurricanes in North America, in our Atlantic and our Pacific, North Atlantic and North Pacific. Typhoons are in this part of the world. Cyclones, this part of the world. Okay, and also this part of the world. So I believe, as I just have a word there, that gets their own set of names for tropical cyclones. So here's from the year 1900 to 2011, just 10 of the deadliest hurricanes. And so some of you may still remember the Katrina hurricane. Okay, I have some pictures actually of the Galveston hurricane. So notice back, and I don't know what year, maybe it was like the 1960s or something. That's when they finally started kind of alternating names like that. When you see Florida Keys, it was like before we started giving them first female names and then alternating female-male names. So, deadliest hurricanes. So here's some historic hurricanes. And can you see one of the things that they have in common? I'll go ahead and draw a big old letter H. Okay?
High pressure.
High pressure, exactly. We said that actually between the Hadley and the Ferrell cell, we have descending air, and it creates a semi-permanent high. This actually is the Bermuda high. I don't know if I spelled Bermuda right.
ER.
Bermuda. ER?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Bermuda high. So Bermuda Triangle and that sort of thing. So one of the things we've talked about in an earlier chapter, so what direction does air flow around a high? Is it clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
It is clockwise. Okay.
I remember that on the test. I got those backwards.
It is clockwise. So actually each one of these is kind of going around the Bermuda High in the Atlantic Ocean basin. So whenever you see these, do you guys see the little dots like right here? This is a Galveston hurricane, and here the dot, 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 dots, that sort of thing, that actually means when it was downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm. So I put TS, not for thunderstorm, but for tropical storm, and this was a full-fledged hurricane. You know, and it just goes with wind, right? So one of the things, not so surprising, but can you see where what happens to a hurricane when it hits landfall?
It dissipates.
Yeah, it does
It
dissipate.
begins to dissipate.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're seeing there. So this is that Galveston hurricane, Galveston, Texas. Actually, I think if you look back at the, well, maybe not that list, but Galveston has been hit more than once. Yeah. The problem with our coastline is that everybody loves our coastline. It's great for transporting. It's great for getting water and all that. So our populations have built up there, and they are susceptible to hurricanes. This is Hurricane Ike, and I'll kind of dim the lights a little bit. I mean, it looks pretty flattened to me.
Tell them to need a little more for their foundation on their houses.
In 08. It's weird though. It could be.
Because that roof looks real nice there on the bottom.
It looks kind of random, doesn't it? And I think that could be kind of, you know how tornadoes have kind of weird stuff? They cream all and then leave something standing. I think that's kind of maybe what you're seeing.
What part of Texas is Crystal Beach in?
Yeah, I don't know. Good
It
question.
looks like it's on the coast.
Good question.
Probably by Corpus Christi.
So, three things will get you. Actually, three things will get you, but these aren't those three things. These are features that you're probably all familiar with, like those, sorry, let me go back. Those, the Boris and Christina we saw a little bit ago. Okay, if you're looking down at it, you kind of see a circle here if it's a mature hurricane. Okay, that circle actually is the eye. Okay, that's a circle thing. And actually, if you were to look closer in the eye, actually it's surrounded by these purple things are actually what we call the eye wall. Eye wall. And kind of as I've drawn those are actually, as I understand it, like little thunderstorm cells. And I'm going to pick green on green, and here in the middle I'm going to put a low, actually at the surface. So these things, as I've drawn them, I'll go ahead and kind of put some little thunderstorm cells here too. These are the spiral rain bands. And these are, like I said, things that you can see from satellite image. But you probably all already know this. One of the things we're going to talk about is they actually send airplanes through these systems to get a fix on what the wind speed is, what the moisture content.
So I think they make the Air Force do that.
That could be. That sounds right.
Those guys are adrenaline junkies anyways, though.
Air Force?
Guys, anybody that flies a plane has to be an adrenaline junkie. You just have to be.
So I'll put a low down
You're
here.
defying gravity for a living.
Could be. I'll put a low here at the surface. And actually, I don't know if I'll be able to explain this fully, but there is actually a high above the low. So, and actually kind of makes sense to one of the things we talked about, what direction does air flow from a high to a low. But if you've watched the movie The Day After Tomorrow, actually when the eye goes over the people, it goes over the son, and I love that part, and the father, right? It's all still and creepy, okay, and that is true. And
So if you could keep up with the movement of the eye, you could be safe.
That's right.
In theory.
Here actually is this red one is the wind speed. So actually where the eye is, the wind speed drops to 0, and then it comes back up again as it moves over.
How wide is the eye?
I don't know. It probably varies by
Size of the
hurricane.
storm.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about inflow and outflow, and that kind of reminds me, of just regular old thunderstorms that don't last nearly as long as a hurricane it does. But the outflow in a hurricane is at upper elevations. Okay, so the outflow actually, and if you look at it, basically your upper movement kind of looks like clockwise, does it not? And so actually you do have, and I have a better figure coming up here, I told you it's an upper level high and a lower level low. So basically the low down at the surface is what's doing all your crazy, nasty, strong winds. And your storm surge, we're going to talk about that in here in a minute, storm surge with that low. But your upper level high is kind of doing its clockwise thing, and your lower level low is doing its counterclockwise thing. It's just a beast, a beast, a beast. So that air that's descending that creates that creepy eye where the winds are like calm, that descending air, it gets warm and clear. So I don't know if you can see, I'll go ahead and draw high and low. I'll draw the high at upper elevations. Okay, here's a high and here's a low. So kind of do your magic with counterclockwise around a low and clockwise around a high. And that's the eye of the hurricane.
So it's actually highest at the top.
What's that?
So according to millibars, it's not actually highest at the bottom, it's highest at the top.
Oh, it's the lowest at the top.
Or
The in
the lowest.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but one of the
Okay.
things is when you change elevation, the air is gonna
Then it'll be less.
yeah. So, and remember, we actually have a way to correct for that. So, but you're right. You're right. Good call. So the hurricane eye. Here's your answer. How big is the hurricane eye? Average 20 miles wide.
Oh,
in
you can
diameter?
totally
funny.
skydive
Yeah,
through that.
We're good.
We're
What's
thinking
that?
about skydiving through the eye of a
Oh,
hurricane.
my
because
gosh.
that'd be
You could
dope.
skydive and
That'd
like
be
get
so
big
I don't
like
think so.
helicopter and just hover in the eye all the way back.
Yeah, you could keep up with it. It runs about 12 miles per hour.
See, steady 12
Man,
miles.
so I don't even need to buy a Ferrari to try and.
I'm
Oh,
not
As long as
thinking
you
it.
get to the
No.
I can
eye,
do it in my
cruise
car.
control at 12 miles per hour until it's done.
Well, you can't cruise control below 25. So.
No extra
Oh,
credit
well.
for that. Okay. So like from left to right, you see this is Hurricane Fran. Meet Hurricane Fran. So A,
Fran.
B. Okay, these are weather maps. And you can see that Hurricane Fran was kind of doing its counterclockwise around the Bermuda High. So a lot of times the trajectories kind of go up like that, and that's actually kind of you're seeing what she's doing there. I almost think they have like a personality, right? You can see on the B one, notice what happens to the isobars. What does that mean?
It slows down. The wind slows down.
The wind slows down, exactly. Yep.
Towards the center, she gets real tight.
So this says it was, Fran was downgraded to a tropical storm. So over here, this is a tropical storm, and this is a hurricane. Because remember, they measure the winds as they're blowing or in real time. So that was fast enough to be a hurricane. That's a tropical storm. But as you know, hurricanes are categorized too, like tornadoes, aren't they? But instead of the Fujita scale, it's the Saffir-Simpson scale. I just think of the Simpsons, right? So if you want to make a hurricane, there's 3 ingredients, and here they are. You need to have nice, warm, toasty water. You need to be at a certain latitude. That's the second one. So it says you need to have a strong enough Coriolis force. Now, we talked about the Coriolis force is created because the Earth is rotating. And one of the things we talked about is basically the Coriolis force is 0 at the equator and strongest near the poles. So even though it's nice and toasty water near the equator, you don't have enough spin. Okay, it has to be at least 5 degrees outside of the equator. And then the other thing is you need to have unstable atmosphere. Okay. So I'm going to talk you through these stages of a hurricane, and these will be on your test in 1 or 2 or 3 ways. So stages of a hurricane. But now I kind of slipped to, remember the generic name for hurricane is tropical cyclone. So the first stage is, I don't know if this is a stage, but they begin as part of what we call easterly waves. Now the Hadley cell, remember the Hadley cell, right? Bumping up against the intertropical convergence zone on either side. So the Hadley cell, we have easterly trade winds. So that's actually where this easterly wave is, easterly trade winds. Our Atlantic basin hurricanes come from the tip of Africa. So I don't know if you can see it, but this right here, okay? That kind of gray thing there, that actually, those little white things are kind of like little convective sails, okay? So that's where they start off there. Before it's a tropical storm, or before it's a tropical depression, it's a tropical disturbance, okay? So I think easterly waves, I don't know if it's a really stage, but
Easterly wave is going to be on the test.
could be. Couldn't go wrong putting it down. But probably most normal people start with tropical disturbance. So tropical disturbance, you kind of see the criteria for the wind speed. After tropical disturbance, and I get these two mixed up, after disturbance comes depression. So depression is a more of a wound up sort of stage
Real
than
sad.
disturbance. Yeah.
Real sad.
Do we give a Xanax to speed it back up?
No, Xanax
What's
is
that?
muscle relaxer.
Dude, Xanax will cheer you up.
Then
Prozac,
after
Prozac.
tropical depression comes tropical storm. And the cool thing here is they finally get their name. Yay! If they make it this far. Okay? So then after the tropical storm, and by the way, like you know, it can go from a hurricane. Remember, I know it says tropical cyclone, but of course we would call those hurricanes, right? Okay, so a tropical cyclone is a hurricane. Okay, so if the winds get at least 75 miles per hour, then it can be classified now hurricane, tropical cyclone. So there you go. So this is kind of showing you how many tropical storms and hurricanes there are versus how many of them are just hurricanes. So there are less hurricanes than hurricanes and tropical storms, which I just think that's... I guess if you look at the, and this is the Atlantic Ocean basin, the peak time, a little after first part of September. All right, so the naming stuff, I love this part. So each ocean basin has its own set of names. Okay, so that means actually we kind of are hit. We usually think of Atlantic hurricanes, but there are some Pacific, Western Pacific hurricanes. They alternate male and female, and they drop the letters Q, U, X, Y, and Z. Go figure. So there's 5 letters that you won't see a first name like. If they run, so there's 26 letters in the alphabet, 26 minus 5 is 21. So you only have 21 names pending for a given season. If they get through that list of names, then they go on to the Greek alphabet. When Katrina did its thing in, was that 05? Okay. Then actually, was that the same year as Wilma? So I mean, we got to the end of the alphabet with that year. And so then they go into the Greek letters. So I'm going to show you here in a minute, actually it's a figure from your textbook, where there are 6 lists, and the lists rotate. Okay, so there's lists like A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, C, D, E, F, and it rotates. I'll show you what I mean. But now if, like the name Katrina, although it had been used in the past, Katrina has been retired. If you're like me, this stuff really interests me. And if you go out on the internet and if you Google for retired hurricane names or tropical cyclone names, I think it's interesting. So these are 6 lists that I'm going to reveal. This is a figure from your textbook. So for this storm season, these are the names that we have to apply to hurricanes that are associated with the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea. Anybody's name up there? I don't think so. So this would be next year's?
I feel like Hurricane Larry would be a bad one.
Are you kidding me? Hurricane Yona sounds awful. Or Hurricane Otto.
So this would be 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. So.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Hurricane Debbie.
So we'll see if it comes up very good. I kind of closed some things out, so hopefully it won't take us long. But just to take a look at some of kind of the other basins.
Hurricane Wendy's kind of funny.
It's better, I closed a bunch of stuff. All right, so the WMO, World Meteorological Organization, like I said, we're all kind of in this together. So this should match up with, does this look like it matches up with the one we just saw?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so this one actually would be our Pacific.
Whoa,
names.
hey, there's an Xavier, a Yolanda, and a Zeke.
Oh, yeah, see, they have they do the
Z's.
X, Y, Z's, don't they? And this one doesn't.
Yolanda would just be a bad name for a hurricane.
There's one,
Yeah,
Vicente.
Yolanda would be.
But then you get into different basins where some of these, like this one here, the North Central Pacific, I'm like, those do not look familiar to me.
Hurricane Weenie.
Western Pacific, see names that, and these aren't alphabetical, are they?
So they
That
should,
sucks, yeah.
oh,
They
I thought
probably
that
are
said Shakira.
in the language that they're represented in.
Really?
Hurricane Japan, oh, Japan.
I don't know about that. Australia?
Here's my name.
Ferdinand.
So you're not retired, so you.
Hurricane
You
Harold.
bet. Verdun, isn't that a historical, something has to do with, Verdun is a city or something in history.
Oh,
I want to say World War II, German.
but you get the idea.
Yeah, Germany and World War II.
That was another one.
Oh, I've got a list of all the retired names right here, if you're interested.
Oh. Well, how about we take a break and 20 minutes and we'll kind of look at that. Okay?
All right.
For not 20-minute break, sorry, a 10-minute break. And then we'll come back. Do some-
Spank the butt. What do you have?
I've got them separated by decade too.
Okay.
What's my other shoe?
Wikipedia is the one.
Wikipedia?
Hey, you took your boots off.
One year, I was teaching this a few years ago, and I stumbled on Wikipedia, and they were like, storms for whatever year I was teaching. And I'm like, dude, they were just like making up this crap. I'm like, did this really happen? Like, no, it's Wikipedia.
Do you need these back?
No, those are pretty good.
We got Carol, this is in the 1950s.
If we find him, add him, let me know.
Yeah, 1950s. Carol, Edna, Hazel, Connie, Diane, Ione, Janet, Audrey,
These were all retired?
Gracie. 9
Wow,
names.
so they were like giving them the names back in that time?
3, 3, 4, there's it's a category here too.
Cool.
And wind speed recorded. Sustained wind speeds recorded.
So that's Wikipedia?
This is Wikipedia.
I'll pull that up.
And it, the area where they hit.
So does it go on, those are 50s, what about 60s and blah, blah,
Names retired in the 1960s.
blah?
Donna, Carla, Hattie, Flora,
That's a lot of
Cleo,
names.
Dora, Hilda, Betsy, Inez, Beulah, and Camille.
And that's just one ocean basin, you think?
No, it's all over. They're all over.
Oh.
Caribbean, Central America.
Okay.
Oh, I guess, yeah, it is all the same ocean basin.
Did you give us a
Yeah.
unit sheet for this?
I did.
70s. Celia, Agnes,
Unit four, all
Carmen,
right, I found it.
Fifi, Eloise, Anita, Greta, David, and Frederick.
Okay,
Unit 4, right?
yes.
All right, I found it.
80s.
When's that due? 2 weeks?
So now, remember, and I'll remind people, I'll put on my Twitter feed, but like if we finish a chapter, like we just finished that one chapter, it's gonna be due next week.
Next Wednesday night?
And I don't think we'll get
Thursday
through
night?
this chapter.
You'll put it on your feed?
Yes.
All right, cool.
1980s, I think it is where I'm at. Yeah, 1980s. Alan, Alicia, Elena, Gloria, Gilbert, Joan, Hugo. 90s. Diana, Klaus, Bob, Andrew, Luis, Marilyn, Opal, Roxanne, Caesar,
We might get through this.
Fran, Hortense,
The test is next week for this unit?
No,
George.
the review is next week though.
Oh,
Mitch,
And I'll
Floyd,
hand out a
Lenny,
review thing.
15 names in the 90s. In the 2000s, we've got Keith, Allison, Iris,
No Adams yet.
Michelle, Isidore, Lily, Fabian, Isabel, Juan, Charlie, Francis, Ivan, Jean, Dennis, Katrina, Rita, Stan, Wilma, Dean, Felix, Noel, Gustav, Ike, and Paloma. 24 in the 2000s. And so in the 2010s so far, Igor, Thomas, Irene, Sandy, and Ingrid. Ingrid. What a name.
That's great.
Nobody has my name, so.
Oh, good luck.
Oh, hey, she found it.
We talk about weather forecast, we're gonna watch some weather forecaster bloopers, meteorologist bloopers.
So if there's ever a tornado where I live, I don't think I have a warning siren to live in Argyle, and it's like 50 people. I don't
But
think
you got a smartphone, don't you?
Yeah,
Get-
well, my grandma, she likes to
Stay
stalk the
alert.
weather, so
Good.
she'll call me.
I shut off all the weather alerts on my phone, and the Amber Alert and all that stuff, I shut it off so I don't have to deal with it.
Well, I don't even have a basement.
When it's your time, it's your time, right?
I live in a trailer house and
Yeah.
a town.
I'm on the internet 90% of the
Yeah.
time. If the internet goes out, I hide anyways, so
I have a crawl
internet.
space.
if the internet goes out, I'm hiding.
With a cat down there, who just kind of hangs out.
And by hiding, I mean standing next to my router until the light goes back from
They
red to
like-
white.
We've never had a situation where it was a bad storm where I live yet, but like, I guess one time there was, and it's just somebody drives by and they honk and they're like, there's a tornado. And that's actually all the town I
There you
live in. And then they open up the church because it has a basement, and it's so small, everybody just goes.
My neighbor lady, she always said that she keeps her basement door unlocked, so just go down there if anything ever
Get to
happens.
it from the outside.
Yeah.
That's
Because
cool.
she keeps her back run a lot, because
See?
Argyle is like 50 people with no crime rate. So,
Argyle doesn't know what a crime rate is.
I know. We're literally, me and my boyfriend are the youngest people that live there. Great, that's nice. Because everybody's like old fashioned, they're like, give me a cup of sugar, stick of butter. I'm like, I don't know any sticks of butter anymore.
What's that?
Yeah, like what are you talking about? But yeah, I don't think they have a warning siren. I don't know, but
Oh, goodness.
you could probably hear Donaldson, because Donaldson's not that far.
Let's see. Okay, so let's go ahead, oh, well, almost. I don't think we're gonna get any more bad weather out of this one. I think it's
And the internet said that it was over,
done,
so
Yeah.
we'll take it.
just the wind. If we can make, we might fly to our cars tonight.
Hmm.
I hate driving when it's so windy out.
Yeah, I've got like a little a small car
Yeah.
cube and feel it. All right. So Kane found this out on the internet. Wikipedia is good for some things.
Oh, by the way, I hit back on my Google search,
Uh-huh.
and there was a NOAA link right below it. So if you don't trust NOAA more than Wikipedia, which you probably should,
Well, this is presented well, I think. I think this is probably right. So it's by decade?
yeah, it's all by decade.
So that was the 50s. And the name is right here. And the deaths is this column right here. And you said they had the category? Yep, the third column's a category.
The very last column is the amount of money damage wise.
Category 5, we're gonna see there are not, oh, this one right here, yeah. There are not very many category 5 hurricanes.
There's 3 in a row right
I know.
there.
So these are retired names, right?
Yeah, these are all retired names, according to Wikipedia.
64, 65, 66, 67, 69, 1970s. And I think to be retired, they can either like bring a lot of deaths and or damage, these last two columns.
$2 billion.
So 7 names. One of these decades had 24
Damage
names.
extensive.
90s.
Jason won't count.
Hortense, really? Hurricane Fran, I remember talking about that. Hurricane Mitch. Floyd, 2000s.
Hey, weren't we just looking at Mitch earlier?
Could be. That could be, I can't remember.
Oh wait, go back up. It said where it hit in the 5th column, I think that is. Central American, Yucatan Peninsula, and South Florida.
South Florida. The 2000s. See, why was this tropical storm retired? Goodness.
Because it did $9 billion of damage.
Oh, what's $9 billion of damage?
It's pocket change.
Is it?
For the military, it is.
Where'd it hit? I think Texas, it said.
Louisiana.
Was it?
Probably because it was.
Did you realize the military spends $9 billion in 9 weeks?
Yeah, they spend a lot of money
That's
that we don't even have.
That's what we're
24
doing.
names.
We just gotta kill people, that's all. Maybe like North Korea.
And so this is the one we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
These are the names that have been retired recently.
Hurricane Sandy.
Whoa, wait, does that say 68 billion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus
Plus the
billions.
huge.
Oh, that's the one that hit New York.
Yeah.
That's why.
But New York's not even like important, so.
You know, it's just, you know, the commerce capital of the world.
The Yankees, dude. That's like
The Yankees,
$100
dude.
billion there.
Go Mets.